Good afternoon, how are you? My name is Angel, welcome to the channel. Today I'd like to share this book with you, The Exiled, the Japanese Community in Peru and the Second World War, by the sociologist Luis Alberto Rocca Torres, who is also a researcher of Afro-Peruvian culture. I actually bought it more than a year ago, perhaps, but it was only in recent weeks, owing to how intense, aggressive, and emotionally charged the electoral process became, and after hearing and reading racial insults exchanged among Peruvians, that I felt prompted to read this publication about a subject which, at least in my case, I never studied either at school or at university. It is as though it were a taboo, an uncomfortable truth, and perhaps one of the most shameful episodes in our country's 20th century history, the deportation of 1,771 Japanese people and their descendants living in Peru to 15 concentration camps in the United States during the 1940s, page 13. Chapter 1, Anti-Japanese Offensive Ideological and Cultural Campaign, page 20, originating from powerful groups in the United States and Latin America, page 23, which portrayed the Japanese before public opinion as a threat and even resorted to racist arguments, page 24. The Chinese community is portrayed in a particularly unfavorable light, as it is stated on the same page that some members of that community took part in this anti-Japanese propaganda campaign. Politicians and intellectuals renowned in Peru, such as Victor Raúl Aya de la Torre, Ciro Alegría, the newspaper La Tribuna, and others also bore responsibility for this campaign, page 26. Unfortunately, there were looting incidents, demonstrations, expropriations, frozen bank accounts, and business closures, and it was the United States government that devised a deportation program which was implemented in Peru by the government of Manuel Prado Ugarteche, page 29, across 66 localities, page 34. The notorious American official John Emerson is mentioned, page 41, as being involved in planning the deportation. Equally striking, as I mentioned, is the regrettable role played by some Chinese immigrants who provided information about Japanese residents and their businesses, page 42. Many years later, several of those who had been deported as children and were living in Japan, the United States, and Peru established the Peruvian Japanese Oral History Project, page 16, in order to contribute to efforts aimed at achieving justice and redress. Chapter 2, Anti-Japanese Operations in Northern Peru, mainly in Lambayeque and Piura, page 69. As early as 1938, one article was already calling for a boycott of Japanese and Chinese people, page 71, while Japanese residents in Chiclayo, the capital of Lambayeque, sought to defend themselves against such campaigns, page 75. Several institutions were shut down, among them the emblematic Japanese School of Chiclayo, page 81, which had been founded in the 1930s, page 84. Amid arbitrary confiscations and deportations, it is remarkable that several decades later, in 1999, the Issei, Nisei, and Sansei, that is, the first, second, and third generations of Japanese immigrants in Peru, were able to recover their premises, page 96. And finally, in chapter 3, there are many testimonies, really moving. They provoke sadness and indignation, outrage, but also admiration for the dignity and mental strength of those who suffered these wrongs. Hardworking and industrious people lost everything as a result of looting carried out by mobs that had been incited, and in some cases even by police officers, page 160. And yet there were also neighbors who refused to allow such humiliations and instead protected those immigrants, as in the case of the young Okasan Kame in the district of Rimac, Central Lima, page 99. There are numerous testimonies relating to the looting, the deportations, the sea voyages via Panama, and arrival at concentration camps such as Crystal City, page 110. You can see an illustration of this horrible place. And after the war, where would they go? Many were not allowed to return to Peru, page 18. Only 100 out of almost 1,800 were permitted to do so, page 141. Astonishingly, the very government of the United States that had been responsible for deporting them ultimately classified them as illegal immigrants at the end of the war, page 169. Throughout the book, There are many statistical tables, like this one on page 35, detailing the places of residence of many of those who were persecuted. There is also an extremely important appendix containing the census of detainees held at the Crystal City concentration camp, including their names, ages, places of residence here in Peru, occupations, and family members. Another appendix concerns those deported from the department of Lambayeque, including men, women, and children. The book also includes primary sources, such as this list dated 13th of September 1944, representing a substantial effort of surveillance, intelligence gathering, and record keeping concerning private individuals and businesses, even complete with their addresses. A map on which you can see where these persecutions and arrests took place. Throughout the book, there are many interviews and testimonies. And as I said at the beginning, this is a lamentable chapter in our history, one that was permitted by the country's ruling classes. At the same time, it is a lesson of fortitude, dignity, and strength of character in the face of humiliations and abuses. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Best wishes. Bye bye.